දහස් ගණන් බැතිමතුන් නවතින පුදබිම සෙල්ල කතරගම. ගම්වාසීන්ට මෙන්ම පුදබිම වන්දනා කරන බැතිමතුන්ට නිදහසේ පිරිසිදු ජලය පීමට ජල පෙරණයක්. ගම්මැද්ද ජන සතු කළ වගයි. ගම්මැද්ද රට නගන ජන පෞර.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Hello, very good evening and welcome to Newsline on location. We are on location at Bishop's House where our guest is His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit with his very special Easter message to the people of our country, Sri Lanka. And very good evening to you, Your Eminence, and thank you again for appearing on Newsline.
Good evening to you. Thank you very much for coming.
4 years of after the horror and the tragedy of Easter, 4 years ago, we hardly see any form of legal redress. How do you, in that context, in that ambience, what is your message to your flock this Easter 2023?
Well, we have already sent messages to our people to pray because we believe that God is the ultimate source of justice. Whatever we human beings achieve as justice may not be as perfect as what He can give us. So we always plead with Him to do justice to the cause of these 272 people whose lives were lost and so many others whose blood was shed and who are going through immense suffering continuously. So it's a continuous prayer to the Lord to help us and to reveal the truth. Because that has become even more necessary due to the fact that the official channels of justice have not been fair to us all along, even up to now. There has never been a serious, committed investigation into the Easter attack, its causes, its players and authors, any other forces that may have had a role to play in this. There has never been an investigation serious, and we have always asked for such a thing, but we have never received it. Secondly, whatever prosecution that has happened has been done in such a slipshod manner that often those cases have become ridiculous. One typical case was filed some time ago against some of the two top people involved, and it was carried out in such a way that the judges themselves thought that it was not worth proceeding with. And then the prosecution was so poorly organized so that the judges had no other way but to dismiss the case. So this is the way these officials like the Attorney General's Department, the police, they have been dealing with this. So no investigation and no justice in a transparent manner. And whatever justice we have achieved is due to our own initiatives. Now the conviction of those 4 or 5 people a few months ago was due to the fundamental rights application that we filed with the participation of several other groups. And it was our own effort that got that kind of justice. But we are not satisfied with that because we know that it is a big story and it has some certain aspects and angles that are still hidden from us. So until we get that kind of justice, we have to carry on our struggle.
The prosecution that you are referring to must have been the Supreme Court order against the former President Maithripala Sirisena the Defense Secretary, the Inspector General of Police, the head of the State Intelligence Services, and various other officials.
Yeah.
It is probably the very first time in the history of Sri Lanka, in contemporary history at least, where action has been taken for failure of duty. We noted that it was a 7-member bench of the Supreme Court, leaving very little room for an appellate process. How important was that to you, even if it is limited?
Well, as far as we are concerned, that was a very important judgment given in our favor, because we filed action. The government or the government sources never did anything concrete and substantial to bring these people to justice. Therefore, we were left with no other option but to go ourselves looking for justice, and so we are very happy that a beginning has been made and they have been fined. Fining them proves that they are guilty of the allegation or the accusation that has been laid on them, and therefore that will open possibility for us to file further action for damages and other things. In fact, we have filed over 300 cases, civil cases against these accused. We are waiting till the actual president leaves his office to start prosecuting him also, because he has the immunity due to his position. So we have laid it aside, but we have not forgotten it. It is laid aside for the moment, but we will continue.
You're talking about the current president?
Yeah, current president, because he is also one of those who have been accused in a FR case, and it was laid aside because of his immunity as president. But once he finishes his term as president, because he cannot be eternally president, the Catholic Church will continue. He will come and he will go, but the Catholic Church will continue, and as long as our faithful ask us, we will prosecute him also. So we will pursue, because starting from that case, now it has been proved that the allegations were correct, so we can move forward to other cases and continue to insist on justice until the government itself gives us justice. The Attorney General's Department gives justice. The rulers of the country will do a transparent investigation and find out who really was behind this. Not only those who actively participated in the attacks, but those who aided them, abetted them, supplied the materials to do that. All these things have to be found out. And we are sure that one day it will be found out. So those people who are behind this and who are trying to hide behind power and authority should know that the Catholic Church will continue in history. It is not a matter of Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit or somebody else. It's the church. They hurt our people in the churches. They hurt the visitors who came to the hotels on Easter Sunday. So a day sacred to us. So this will not be forgotten.
I know that the Catholic Church, your organization, is very much involved in the care of people, the victims, who have in many cases have had life-changing injuries, apart from the loss of loved ones and so on. But those who are left behind without their loved ones. I have been to a place where I saw a lady who was paralyzed from the waist downwards. She's confined to a bed. She's quite relatively young. If you look at the average of the life expectancy in Sri Lanka, she probably has another 30 years of life on average. She has lost one child and she has two others. And she told me that she wouldn't be able to live even the way she is living, basically in a bed, if not for the efforts of the Catholic Church in terms of financial support and other care. And this must be replicated in at least 500 other cases. How are you coping with keeping these people, these victims? How are you sustaining their care?
Actually, when we had these East attacks, one of the first things we did was to make a public appeal for help. And therefore, aid came to us, financial aid and various types of helps came to us to look after these people from all over the world, also from Sri Lanka. Even some of the wealthy Muslim donors, they gave us money and help. And with these donations, we immediately started a program of welfare for these people, families of those who have lost their loved ones, sustenance of their children and their education, and also the medical care of all those who have been sick. And we have been able to help many families with this kind of money. And now with the money that is being collected by the courts through the fines, even they will be able to get more help, I'm sure, in the future in order to sustain themselves. But we have decided that all those people who are having permanent disabilities, like the person you referred to, we will look after them until they die. That is our plan. And we have reserved money from those collected in order to be able to handle that in the future also.
Your Eminence, you tell me that you have plans to look after the people who are disabled and so on until their death. But there are several children involved in this, some with one parent, some with no parents. And relatives are usually elderly. What of their future?
Well, with regard to these children, we have really over 100 such children whom we have identified from these families, and we have, along with the dialogue and with the money that we collected ourselves, we have started a project by investing funds in their name in the banks, and this money is being given to them so that they can complete their studies up to 18 years of age. And then once they achieve 18 years, they will also get a certain lump sum of money from the interest calculated, and they will be able to use that for their further needs. And we have also started a plan to help them once they enter university, so that if there's a possibility for them to go to the university, we help them there too. So these programs have been established and they are working. So we look after that, and if there is any sudden change or anything that affects them which might require an extra bit of oxygen, we are ready to do that also. We have planned that also for them.
How much has the economic condition of our country, which is, I think, fair to say, in tatters, and the mismanaged economy and so on, how much of that is impacting on the Church's ability to take care of people who were injured and affected for no reason at all of their own?
Yeah, what we have done is basically our bulk of the money that we had collected has already been invested in various, various banks and other things, so that the income is stable with regard to the plan that we have had from the beginning. So this is being managed by a committee, separate committee, which has the authority to decide on the management of that fund. So it is transparent and it is visible to anybody who wants to check on our bona fides. So we are sure that we'll be able to manage because you know that the interest rates were increased recently after the crisis, so that it will also benefit us in a certain way.
And on that note, it's time for a break to take a peek at this evening's headline news. We are, of course, in conversation with His Eminence, Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. We'll see you on the other side of the break, shall we?
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
2014 T20 ලෝක කුසලාන ජයග්‍රහණය කළා හරියටම අදට අවුරුදු 9ක් පිරෙනවා. මම ජාත්‍යන්තර තරඟ ක්‍රීඩා කරනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ සියලු දෙනාම මට ගොඩක් ශක්තියක් වුණා. ප්‍රේක්ෂකයන් විදියට ඔයගොල්ලෝගෙන් ඉල්ලන්නේ ක්‍රීඩකයන්ට ආදරය කරන්න, ඔවුන්ට ශක්තිය ධෛර්යය ලබා දෙන්න.
2014 ICC 2020 ලෝක කුසලානේ උරුමය සමගින් අපේ කේසර සිංහ රාවය මෙසේ ලොවට විරාජමාන කළ වගයි.
Over a dozen injured in Agbopura train derailment. Operations along the eastern route limited to Galloya. Human Rights Watch tells government to withdraw anti-terrorism bill. Dr. Jayampati Vikramanatha warns that the new anti-terror legislation can impact GSP Plus concessions. Festival advance for several principals to be slashed from April salary. Christians across the world mark Good Friday.
ගොඩක් සන්තෝෂ වෙන්න දේවල් තිබුණා වර්ල්ඩ් කප් එක දිනන අමතරව අර ටීම් එකම සෙල්ලම් කරපු හැටි. තීරණ ගැනීමේදී ටීම් එකට අවශ්‍ය තීරණ මම ඔක්කොම දුන්නා. අපි අත්හැරීම නෑ මේ සැරේ කොහොම හරි මේ වර්ල්ඩ් කප් එක දිනන තත්ත්වෙම තමයි මම හිටියේ.
2014 ICC 2020 ලෝක කුසලානේ උරුමය සමගින් අපේ කේසර සිංහ රාවය මෙසේ ලොවට විරාජමාන කළ වගයි.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline on location. We are in conversation with His Eminence, Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. Thank you very much, Your Eminence. And again, this is a very special Easter message. It's not limited to a few lines typed up somewhere. You've taken your time to appear here so that your flock and others will be able to listen to your message and the commitment that the church is making. But are you supremely confident that at least you'll be able to take care of these victims and their families financially?
Well, we cannot foresee unforeseen situations that may arise in the future, but as far as we are concerned with regard to the present situation, we are, I think, confident that we can handle the care of these people even in the future.
And Your Eminence, has the need to look after all these people, I mean, it must be very challenging for the church. How do you get the necessary people? The force, you need the force. How difficult has that been, or have people just come forward? How is it happening?
From the very beginning, our approach had been to work with our Caritas center, because all the dioceses have Caritas centers, and our Caritas center has staff, a team of volunteers and other such persons whom we recruited. Actually, our clergy, our priests and religious got down to the task immediately after the Easter attacks to visit these families, console them, look after them, and then give them psychological counseling and assistance and so on. So we have been doing that now for a long time. So we have the manpower and the commitment necessary from our people to go ahead with these assistance programs. But at the same time, the general public has also shown a lot of interest in helping us by way of solidarity, by way of supporting our campaigns. As you know, every 21st April up to the 4th year now, this is the 4th year that we will celebrate soon. We commemorate these people, the 4th year. Up to that time, we have had a lot of solidarity from our people, from the general public in Sri Lanka, for which we are very grateful to them, for always speaking about this tragedy, the Easter Sunday attack. Now it has become a popular subject in the modern history of Sri Lanka. And this is a test case for us, test case for democracy, transparency, rule of law, and moral uprightness. It's a test case. So unfortunately, even though the general public is aware of these things and they support us and they back all our campaigns, still it looks as if our cries for justice, for a transparent inquiry into what has happened and so on, are falling on deaf ears with our political leaders. So up to now, no credible steps have been taken by the governments that came after the Easter Sunday attack to check and find out who has been responsible for this mass murder. So we are sorry about that. But we are very happy that the general public in Sri Lanka, they are with us. We know that they are with us, they support us, they join us in our campaigns across the board, not only Catholics but also Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, they all are with us. So we hope that they will back us right up to the point where our political leaders will finally listen to our plea and give us a fair and transparent investigation into this. One typical case, the volumes that were handed over to the President by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. We have been asking for these volumes from the government so many times. We have gone before the RTI. We have written number of letters to the President and to the Speaker of Parliament and all these people. But all these letters have, demands have fallen on deaf ears. We have not got those volumes either. So why are these people trying to hide the facts? Why are they afraid that the evidence will come out? Why are they afraid of it? That means that they are afraid because they want to hide something. If they are honest and transparent, they will not try to hide these volumes. They can easily release these volumes to us. Then also about this famous case of Sarah Jasmine. Now, the third DNA test was done. Why was it the necessity to do a third DNA test? Whom are they trying to protect? So all these things are highly suspicious of the regime and all those who support the regime, that they are trying to hide something. So that proves to us that they are not sincere. So in front of that reality, the support that we receive from the general public across the board is something that is very, very consoling and very ennobling to us.
Your Eminence, do you bemoan the fact that there are 0 politicians in this country who are committed to a judicial conclusion to what is now known as the Easter tragedy?
Well, it has been like that not only for our Easter Sunday attack, But you see so many other murders that have happened, disappearances. Nobody knows what happened to Pradeep Eknaligoda. Nobody knows what has really happened to some of the other people who disappeared and or who were murdered. Dasanta Vikramatunga. No, everything is hidden. So how can we trust our political leaders? From the time of, maybe in the 60s and the 70s, from that time onwards, this country has experienced bloodshed all the time. And not a single leader has allowed us to have a transparent investigation into such disappearances and into all these kind of anti-democratic things that they have done up to today. So all these people stand condemned before the public, stand condemned, because they have not done their duty. When you take the oath of president, you promise and vow that you will safeguard the constitution of the republic, and that constitution involves human rights, the dignity of its citizens, and they have not done that. They have not preserved the dignity and the human rights of our people, of the people of Sri Lanka. They have only helped themselves, and therefore that selfish attitude has helped them to cover up so many murders and so many disappearances down this last 40-50 years history. And so we are very sad about that.
Your Eminence, as we come to a close of this interview with you, please tell the people your very special Easter message. 4 years on of injustice, 4 years on what appears that they have forgotten, but indeed they're not. What is your Easter message for everyone, actually?
Well, we have religious faith. We stand for a religion. Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, great religions, religious traditions in which we believe and which we have to practice in our daily life. Otherwise we will become hypocrites, only people limiting ourselves to words and not to action. So at this time, what we need in Sri Lanka is honesty and sincerity in the practice of our individual faiths, whatever that is. If we really believe in our religious principles and practice those religious principles, this kind of situation will never rise, would never have arisen. This economic crisis would never have arisen, because all of this is due to our double standards in our life, where we say something that we are Buddhist, we are Hindu, we are Christian, we are Muslim, but we don't practice that down these several decades. Because of that, dishonesty, lack of transparency, lack of discipline, lack of honesty in implementing the rules according to a transparent manner. All of these have plagued our country because we are only acting like hypocrites. We say one thing but we don't practice that. That is the biggest problem that we all have. We must beat our own breast and find out whether I have been myself an example of that. So this is a challenge that we all have. So this Easter, the Lord Jesus Christ died for us in order to show us the way of self-sacrifice. That it is the way of self-sacrifice that will finally win for us the God's kingdom. Therefore, let us each one think about the country, not about me, but about the country. If that can be propagated and spread around, then we can transform our society. However much of economic principles, rules and regulations, bills and whatever that is, will not change our society unless we ourselves change. So Easter is a time for us to change.
Time for change. Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, thank you very much, Your Eminence, for talking exclusively to News First on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was on Newsline on Location. It's now time for the primetime news, but not before I say have a good evening and, of course, as good and happier Easter that you can muster. God bless you all.